Ho, ho, ho. Welcome back to Patriotic Art Live with Donald Pence and Patriarch from the UK. We are doing a wonderful, joyful, happy Christmas Yuletide show today. And I don't know if the audio of the music's coming through. Maybe our guest in the chat can tell you. How does it sound there, buddy? Good Yule. Glad Yule. Yes, glad Yule to you. Can you hear the music? Because that's one of those technical things. Anyway, maybe I'll turn the music down so I don't have to yell so much. But we are doing a fun show today. No, he can't hear it. Okay, well that's not a biggie. I'll just use my charming personality to fill the space. Maybe I'll sing a song. How about that?
Sing Jingle Bells.
Paul, how are you today, sir? It's been a while.
Yes, we have haven't done a show for a couple of weeks now, have we? So, yeah, we've been I've been busy. Beginning of December,
Yeah,
traveling back to the UK,
yeah.
and yeah, sometimes things get in the way, but we wanted to get this stream on Christmas stream, and
Mm.
I think you've got one as well lined up afterwards, right? This evening.
Yes. Excuse me. 7 o'clock tonight on this channel. I have a very huge Christmas Yuletide celebration. There will be several guests. I'm hoping that StreamYard does not crash. Um, there will be, yeah, I've starting off, well, with Mark Collette from Patriotic Alternative. Um, there's a lot of guests that are like, I want to make it, I'll try to make it, and we'll see tonight if you make it. But some other
Hmm.
people that will be making it are Josh Neal, Mark Brahman, Jody Kay from the UK, members of the White Art Collective, Frody Midjord, Decameron. We are very excited to have Frody on as well. And then some people like Nullis from the White Art Collective, who did the
Hmm.
poetry cast. A good friend of mine, he also co-hosted my Imperium Art show. And Nellis is talking about bringing back the poetry show, so we're excited about
Cool.
getting more content for our people. The white, I was just on Yiz's show last night called Discordant Dragons, and on some
Okay.
other shows recently. People have been asking what's the status of the White Art Collective now that the founder has passed away,
Mm.
and the core members, what are called the pillar members, the founding members, been having discussions about this, and essentially what remains is a community. So what I guess what was the White Art Collective, I now refer to as the White Art Community, and
Hmm.
so it's the same kind of flow to it, if you will. I think we're going to still use that term just by habit, but technically it was Jeff's LLC, and it had its own life. Um, that's a whole other history of our movement and what we've been doing in the arts, etc. But what I'm doing specifically is carrying on the torch. So it's not so much like I was elected to do that, or I'm not saying that I'm like the head of it or something. Rather, we founding members feel compelled to carry the torch in our own way. So I'll be, for example, I have this show, I've got other shows that I'm doing and my art streams, etc. And it's just continuing on to produce cultural content for the movement. The White Art Collective is not a political movement. It's a cultural art movement. So you could
Hmm.
think more from that perspective. We don't, attend rallies and like engage in that kind of behavior or what have you. Those types of activities, activism, etc. But art itself is a kind of activism. And more so than that, we are restoring the culture and re-envisioning ourselves for the future in a time where our culture is aggressively being weaponized against us. And I think many people are aware of how that works and what's going on with that. Um, so, it's an exciting time. We're really making a big comeback, and this show is part of it. So, today's show, we are focusing on Christmas Yuletide themes. And so you can probably vaguely see the light outline of a kind of traditional, sort of more European looking Santa Claus. And he's got a big sword here, so I have a bit of a kind of a, I don't want to say ossetru exactly, but a kind of a, maybe a bit of a pagan flavor to it. So that way I'm kind of, you know, paying homage to the indigenous community in Europe, and share the love, as it were.
Hmm.
So how about you, my friend? What are your plans for Christmas or Yule?
I am Christmas time. Well, I'm currently staying in Romania right now.
Hmm.
Obviously, my
Hmm.
wife's Romanian,
Great.
and yeah, I mentioned off stream about. Uh, I don't know about you. What you tend to eat at Christmas? In the UK, we
Okay.
eat a lot of turkey. Turkey's
Oh yeah.
the
Oh
sort
yeah.
of
Same in America.
the
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
the animal of sacrifice. It's all the turkeys and
Okay.
whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in Romania, it's the pig. So they eat
Ah.
a lot of pork around
Okay.
Christmas time.
All right.
Um,
Definitely not Muslim then.
not Muslim at all.
No.
Um, so yeah, and not Jewish either. So
Yeah.
um,
Right. Mm.
so yeah, we actually did a slaughter of a pig the other day.
Wow. Good Lord.
Yeah, it was quite interesting.
It's funny. We sometimes we talk about that. Oh, we got some music. Like in
Yeah, no
America, how
problem.
kind of sanitized the food process is per se, that we don't see the truth of how that all works. But what was it? Some kind of a, I don't want to say ceremony, but was it,
Uh,
since it was for Christmas? Was there anything ceremonial about it, or how would you say?
no, not really. It was just a traditional slaughtering, and
Right.
I got to experience it. And
Okay.
they, it was a more humane slaughter than
Okay.
something like halal, where
Oh,
they just
halal is
slit its neck
very,
right out. Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
very
essentially,
cruel.
what they do is, we they had well, it's a neighbour's house in the
Hmm.
local village. We went up and
Hmm.
they got one of the pigs, and they've been fattening them up for months.
Sure.
Um, and yeah, they kind of led the pig out into the center of this kind of courtyard, and it was reluctant to go, and it was squealing and whatnot. But they take it's like a two fork metal prong, and they stick it into a mains, and essentially they kind of like stun it on top of the head, and
Okay.
it just completely freezes and kind of gets knocked out unconscious with its zzz.
Oh, okay.
It's having bolts through its head, and and whilst it's completely unconscious, being
Okay.
stunned, then
Right.
they kind of cut its neck and it bleeds out.
Sure. Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but its body still reacts in certain ways,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so
It's it's
it's an
grisly.
interesting thing. Yeah, I think it's important to. I mean, vast majority of us eat meat,
Yeah, I do.
and
I
we have
mean,
to
it's a
understand that.
reality. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
reality.
I mean,
I think that finding the most humane way to do it is what's important, and that's good to see. Like you were talking about halal, it's very very cruel. I don't understand these other cultures that are so cruel to animals, but I don't really. I don't know. I've heard, that's another type of a topic, but This is a Christmas show, so we won't go down that path. But so what else is going on in terms of Christmas in Romania? That sounds fascinating.
So that's, I mean, just having family around, the wife's
Hmm.
side of the family. Obviously, mine's in the
Okay.
UK. We
Right.
spent a week with them recently, beginning of
Okay.
December,
Hmm.
and so it'll just be a family-based thing. Um,
Hmm.
just, yeah. I think there's going to be some carols.
Hmm.
They're quite religious, and there's a big emphasis around church at Christmas. So we'll probably
So
go and sing carols at some point.
now, this is forgive me for my ignorance. Are they Orthodox or what? What?
There's a mix. Some are Orthodox, some are sort of more Baptist.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
but
okay.
they as a nation, a state nation, they then tend to lean towards Orthodox and Catholicism.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't
Um,
know that. All right.
yeah,
Wow. So I've met Romanians throughout my time on Earth, and
yeah,
I've always had a real strong desire to go and check out the country, and I just think it's there's something unique about it in terms of its position in history. Also, it's bordering the Muslim world. They've seen a lot of war to protect themselves, and over time they've been through a lot of struggles. So I think that
with
that makes
communism and
yeah, it makes the people very nationalist. They have like a very strong sense of themselves, and it's terrible that things like war and whatever don't have to, but that these things exist. And but again, the end result is that they're stronger as a result. And I guess that's really kind of what life is. It's just the struggles of life fortify you, make you stronger. And that's kind of
mm,
my theme for this year. I went through some very, very, very heavy difficulties this year. I'm not going to
yeah,
go into the details of it just because it's not pleasant and it's very personal. But I chose to kind of stand above it and to move forward, move up, move on. And that's I think there's a lesson there. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we're certainly entering a time where things are getting more intense, in the West. That everyone's pretty much aware of that. So I feel like 2024 is the year where the rubber hits the road, so to speak.
yeah.
And
Well, we're the same. It's
yeah.
there's been a lot of struggles this year
Hmm.
for myself as well.
Mm.
Um, and a lot of change. It's definitely a definitive new chapter for me. Um,
Mm. Can you talk about it at all?
yeah, I can do. There was a number of things really.
Hmm.
Starting from the end of last year after Christmas,
Hmm.
I had a car crash,
Oh
which
Lord.
was although we were safe, it was another
Yeah.
car that I had to write off, and meant I couldn't
Mm.
drive anymore
Oh
for a
dear.
long period of time. So that was annoying.
That's
And
terrible.
then yeah, and then the wife. We thought we had some great news, which was great for about a week.
Oh
And
dear. Oh dear.
the wife was pregnant in the beginning of the new year, and then
Oh.
she
Mm.
miscarried quite
Oh,
early
sorry.
on, which was
I'm sorry.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, what? One second, sorry, bear with
Yeah,
me.
sure. That's fine. Well, it's going to be interesting tonight on the Christmas show to speak with a lot of people in our sphere, and then get a little. And my main thing is to ask people, what are the highlights of your year? What were some things that happened that you want to celebrate or that you learned from, and then what are your thoughts about next year? Just kind of simple, fun banter. Of course, I'm sure it'll lean into politics in some way. One thing I'm excited to see is Josh Neal is back. He's got his own show again, a new show under a new title, and I think he can probably talk about that. That should be good. Um, Mark Collette obviously is always just rocking and rolling. He's one of our most outstanding content producers. He was just on White Rabbit Radio with Tim Murdoch, whom I also invited. So that'd be really cool if we can get these guys on and touch base. Tim Murdoch again, like wow, outstanding, outstanding. So it'll be pretty exciting. We're gonna have some Christmas carols. One of our, I've got some music from when I was. I should back up a little bit. So the White Art Collective had a Christmas song challenge where we were asked to write a Christmas song, and I wrote one. So and this was when I just started out with the White Art Collective, so I was really a newbie. Um, I don't think the group had been around terribly long, but as the new guy, I think I was a little timid. And writing this song and showing it on their channel was kind of my way to introduce myself and say, hey guys, here I am. I write music like you, and let's uh let's do some cool stuff. So it's exciting to have been a part of that. um and there you are. So tonight, let's see, we've got Yiz. I like to call her Yiz the Unifier. She will be on. I was just on her Discordant Dragons show last night. If you guys want to hear a really good episode of Discordant Dragons, where we go into some fairly deep topics about religion and spirituality and, how these things play a role in our movement, in the white positive movement. That is a phenomenal show. I'm kind of maybe slightly the odd man out because I think most of her guests they're sort of I don't know if professional is the word, but like pro vloggers, I guess. Um, People that have their own shows that go into some really, really in-depth analysis on 10,000 things. Hey, look who's back.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I had an important phone call from home. I think
Oh,
it was about,
oh,
yes, which could conclude really the end of an unfortunate events happening to me this year. So where
mm,
was I, by the way?
yeah.
Um, yeah, so
Well, what are your plans for Christmas? Is it just pretty much hanging out, or are you
yeah,
going
we've been
anywhere?
hanging out with family,
What
family here, and
do you have any kind of gift exchange tradition that you're doing, or
um,
what's the score?
yeah, kind of. Well,
Okay,
I think we've already got a few presents lined up for people.
okay,
Um, that's that really. Yeah.
okay. Do you get your gift
So
your
yeah,
you get your what do you
yeah,
call it, Christmas shopping done, or
I think so. I won a bit of a bonus at work. They had it for the Christmas
ooh,
party, and I got a nice little top up, but a couple of 100 quid. That gives me a
nicey
gesture,
nicey.
but I gave it straight to the wife and
Dude,
says,
check this out. My
yeah,
company sent out a letter saying, oh, here are the Christmas bonuses this year. And like if you've worked, 1 year, you get this much, 2 years, you get this much, on up to like 5 years. And I was expecting like a huge bonus for
mm,
Christmas. And then
yeah,
like my one of my managers says like, oh no, that's just for people who work like the main office, not for like the people out in the field. And I'm like, why the hell did they send out this letter then? Because I was expecting to get this like $1,000 bonus. and then later
Wow.
found out, oh no, that's for the managers or something. What a cruel, shitty thing to do. Like, why the
Yeah.
hell did you send me that letter then? Like, how did that get in front of me?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
okay. I actually got a new freelance gig and just got my first payment for that, which is
Cool.
quite handsome. So I'm that's
Can you
actually the
can you
reason
talk
why I
about that?
haven't. I'm sorry?
Can you talk about the freelance
Oh, the new
work as
freelance
well?
gig? Okay, I'll chat about that in a second. Um, so I've been working on my graphic novel Militiaman, and I've been sort of, just doing my show pretty regularly. It's not really a show; it's just me working in my studio and chatting with people that come on. Speaking of which, there's some fun people in the chat right now. Well, who have we got here? Actually, we only have one, but oh no, we have seven people. But if you guys have any questions or comments throughout the show, feel free to throw that at us, and we'll be happy to chat with you guys. But anyway, the new gig is it's actually a client that I worked with some time ago, and we did 5 issues of a graphic novel. It's called The Alliance, and the concept of it is, if you could imagine all of the popular memes that we know in our political culture. Imagine if these memes came alive and were like superheroes and supervillains. What would
Mm.
that what would that be like? I try to imagine, Clown World and Pepe and who else? Like, concepts like hypergamy, the deep
Mm-hmm.
state, what else? Trying to think of some other ones. Nazgul, uh, uh, just all of it, everything that relates to our culture, our political culture. They're all transformed into, and I designed all the characters as well. Actually, I could take a quick
Awesome.
moment to show the artwork for that real fast so people have a feeling for it. If you give me a second, I'll pull up that artwork. Hold tight. And it's quite phenomenal. So here we are. Here we have Capital Pig, who essentially represents capitalism. But if you look on his jacket, he has the Republican and the Democrat pins on him, so that he obviously controls both parties. You get the idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This the Russian bear. Who does that look like?
That is uncanny, isn't it?
uh, yeah. So like and again, the writer comes up with the ideas, and then I designed them. So I designed the entire superhero universe for this. This is a kind of, I think it's kind of like maybe oh boy, I don't know, something in the Asatru worlds, I would say, something in like that zone. Here we
Mm-hmm.
have Boomer Burger, so he's kind of and this story makes fun of both left and right, so it's not specifically like a right wing thing. Although I will say that there's a right wing subtext. So it's generally a fun story. Here we have Keck. I think you guys know who Keck is, I would imagine, if you've been around
Yeah,
in this
with the
movement.
beard.
And again, this is all my designs based on his ideas. Here we have the Demon Rat. You've heard of, Democrat Demon Rat. If you look at the symbols on his cloak here, those are the symbols used to identify, essentially, like places where people can do human trafficking and such. So it's pretty dark. This is a real
Mm.
bad evil character. You can get a sense of him. Galaxy Brain. There's that meme of it's.
Galaxy.
I don't know the name of the meme exactly, but it's the guy who thinks he's super smart and he's got a ginormous brain. I think you
Mm.
guys would be somewhat familiar with that meme. So this is like a play on that. The Fed. We've always got feds watching and reporting, and forget about Antifa and other people who actually are real domestic terrorists. But and then this is picks me. So pick me is a type of a term that we use for women on in the kind of the feminist sphere, or women that are just
Hmm.
basically shilling for attention. Um, uh, trad cath. So this is a type of a trad cath. I mean, it's like the cool trad cath character, but this guy is turns into a kind of trad cat. So he's
Right.
like a not a werewolf, but a cat wolf kind of thing. Like turns into a
Yeah.
kind of a cat type character. The trad wife is Traditor, pretty fun, and once you see it in color too, that helps a lot, because when you see the trad wife meme, she has a very specific white and blue pattern on her shirt that has like flowers. You can easily
Right.
identify it. So this is the Eternal Angel. This is more of a Christian nationalist figure. It's kind of a Deus Vult type figure.
Hmm.
Um, the philosopher. We have a lot of big brain philosopher types in our sphere. Uh, Takia. This is sort of the yeah. You can kind of fill in the blank there. Sort of like the Muslim trolls that we have to deal with. The people that are like the mayor of London, for example. That it's like represents that kind of faction. Let's see what else we've got here. This is a character called Brainstorm, which I think is pretty attractive. I like this character a lot. She's essentially, what's the word? Like, kind of like uh, Xavier from the X-Men. She can control people's minds. This is more or less just kind of like your trad military guy, super powerful military dude. Um, these are some of those kind of Chad type meme guys that you guys have you've seen a lot. Burning Man is essentially like the gay infiltrators in the movement, that say like, oh, we're Catholic and we're right wing, but actually
Like
they're
Milo.
not. Yeah, yeah, you might know. Yeah, yeah, I think you're getting the flavor. Um, Primal. I'm not 100% sure what the meme is here, but it plugs in with some of those kind of Odinist type thinking of those things. Hypergam, that's hypergamy. The topic of feminism is a big issue in the right wing. We talk about it a bit. Let's take a look at. We got a little comment here by Alex. Welcome to the show, Alex. He says the trad cat needs to look more robust and healthy. I think like as a when he's in his human form, he's not, but when he becomes that kind of werewolf type cat, then he is. So whatever. Anyway, here we have it's this I forget the name of this character. It's been months since we did this comic, and so like and you can see I've got tons of characters here.
Hmm.
Say like a giant robot that's like remotely controlled. It's a very cool, fun character. The reptiloid, if you look closely at the references here, you can kind of get a taste of like who this is probably representing. If you look at the temple in the back, um, the face has a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll let you
Phenotype.
guys. Yeah, it's just a certain type of God Emperor. Who is the God Emperor in the last like since 2016, 17? Starts with a D. Anyway, you're getting the idea. So again, these are
Hmm.
all my designs based on the instructions that I got. The Tin Man. I think that's meant to be like conspiracy theorists with the tinfoil hats. That's the play on that. You know, the Tin Man. That's kind of fun. I think that's a neat concept. The Crimson Dealer. This is essentially like a Chinese gangster. So I used he's got, and again, in color, he's wearing all red. So red China, you get the idea. And that face is in Chinese theater, that like opera, they have painted faces like this, and that's kind of a bad guy character in there. Here we have the Karen. We know the
Karen.
term Karen, like, oh, she's a Karen. May I speak to the manager? And she's actually a kind of a robot. You know, so there's a
Hmm.
bit of a joke there in terms of like how society produces these Karens, that they're kind of like robots in that sense. This guy has a shield that I do that in Photoshop, so it's more of a digital image. That's why there's a big blank space on there. Um, but he is sort of a like cartoon Nazi kind of thing, where he's got like the I forget the name of the special boots they wear, and the wife beater shirt and the whole thing. Anyway, that's that. This is the incel, the Milady. So he's got his fedora on, and he's in a cell. He's in this kind of brick cell, but the cell is stuck into this kind of fighting machine, something like an AT-AT from Star Wars. More shape-shifting reptilians, crypto, the orbiter. So what's an orbiter? These are the guys that pay for, oh, like, what are those channels that women take off their clothes and do things? What are those? I don't do those things, so I don't know the names of them, but the guys that pay to watch that shit, they're called orbiters. So this is like a B orbiter, and anyway. Um, so yeah, I'm not doing a great job describing these characters, but this is sort of like the creepy yoga guy that has all this mystical Eastern philosophy and stuff to seduce women with and stuff. I actually know people like this. I mean, I'm not they're not my
Right.
friends, but like, I think we maybe have all been around shit like that. The manlets. So these characters are like, they can kind of like Ant-Man. They can shrink down real small. The manlets. Here we have Deus Volt, VOLT. Um, my channels here. Let's see. There's Violence is Life. What a great name. Um, this is the pagan. You can, that explains itself, I think. So, synthwave is a really popular form of music that we love in the
Hmm.
dissident right. So, this is more of a digital type character. So, like, she exists inside a computer, and so when you see the actual art, it's more it has like filters on it and stuff that look
Has all this artwork been done yet?
Say
The
again?
colorization of it all. Has the
Yeah,
colorization been done?
yeah. Yes, all of that is
Okay, cool.
done. So like when the book comes out, this is called the transhuman. We all know what transhumanism is, the merging of man with machine and internet. It's essentially what the World Economic Forum wants us to become: genderless, hackable animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dark stuff. It's very creepy stuff. So like you can see how it's a pretty sophisticated concept with the story. It's very, very deep. Doom Girl and Wojak, the yes
Hmm.
Wojak, So that, I mean,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
face is facing forward here, but they're pretty badass. The Censor, aka the Demonizer. I don't know. ADL comes to mind when I look at this, being censored all the time. Raven Man. Can't tell you what the meme is here, but it's just a fun, cool character. Um, Miss Q, you know how Q and the whole Trump Q phenomenon, right? So
Hmm.
this character is named Q. It's kind of like I'm making an allusion to Mysterio from the Spider-Man universe. I think Mystery Q, magic. It's a bit of a thing. The Fascies. So it's kind of a comedic look at, like, I guess, fascists in the movement. So, like I said, it makes fun of everybody in a
Right.
playful way. But again, there is a right wing subtext. Miley Psyop.
Hmm.
So the whole push for Satanism in like pop culture. You guys see that all the time, right? I mean, I think you see stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's creepy as hell. Jekyll and Sam Hyde, or Jekyll and Hyde. Like if you,
Jekyll and Sam Hyde. That's
I
quite
think,
funny.
yeah, it's some fun stuff. I mean, his name isn't Sam Hyde. These are allusions to people that may or may not exist. Zog Godman. That's a whole other thing you can think through. SJW. With the justice, the kind of like Black Lives Matter sort of, it's essentially a Marxist symbol right here, and she's, blind and etc. The SJW, femoid. She's got on her shirt is like, a woman's uterus and ovaries, kind of, like she's like a robotic feminazi, I guess is what they call them. Um, Here is Godspeed and Zoomer. So, Zoomers, Boomers, Doomers, Coomers, we know all about those if you're up on the lingo and the generations, the different generations. This is obviously, what's the Orthodox Christian? This is like because there's a pretty, strong Orthodox Christian presence in the dissident right. And,
Yeah, I
we
think
have
so.
our debates and such about, religion. And I'm a big, like, what's the word? Like, I really strongly believe that we should not be fighting each other. I think, healthy debate is fine, but there's just too much division. So, like, that's my own personal thing I wanted to throw in here. Hyperborean, this is an Apollonian character, I would say. It's very cool. When I look at this, I think of Adam Warlock from Marvel Comics. If any Marvel Comics fans in the audience, they would know who I'm talking about. Um, let's see what else. Yeah, just but and again, if you guys have any questions or thoughts in the audience, happy to
We must have spent a
chit
long
chat.
time on all of this.
Yeah, and this isn't even including the five issues that are already illustrated. So that took a long time. Anyway, the job I have to get to the point here is that it's the next five issues of this comic. So the whole thing will be packaged into one graphic novel, and then there's going to be an additional section of the book that is just all these guys with like their name and the description of what they are, so that
Hmm.
I don't know what to call it, like an appendix or an index, I guess, of here are the characters, their backgrounds, sort of a backstory. Honestly, the whole thing would make like a fantastic Netflix series. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Um, yeah, Violence is Life says I used Hero Forge to make 3D rendered characters. One was a wizard frog that is 6'2" and named Tarl, Sticks and Hammer 666. Yeah, so we're kind of on the same page with like the ideas of here of what this is. The deep state. This is the deep or the swamp is what this is called. So the deep state, the deep state swamp. We're familiar with that term, the swamp. Drain the swamp. So you see Washington, the Capitol building sinking in a swamp, and we have this kind of Cthulhu type character, very
Hmm.
evil. The Masons clearly reference to Freemasonry, and anyone who understands what's really going on would get the point. The waifu, the Japanese waifu. So that's I've never understood the and this is supposed to be a Christmas show. I'm talking about all this stuff. Anyway, I've never understood the obsession with like anime in the sort of among white nationalists. Like what the yeah, I know I've asked people about it and they're like, well, we just grew up with it. It was just what was
You mean
popular.
like manga?
Manga, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Manga
quite into
literally.
that for a time.
I never got into it. I mean, it's funny. I
No.
lived in Japan and I study the culture deeply, but I just never. I don't care for it, to be really honest with you. I
Okay.
I can
I've got an important
another
phone call.
important phone call.
Yeah, yeah. Let me. I'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
Sorry.
do your thing. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, here we have the swamp golems, and you could. It's kind of basically the Republican and Democrats working together behind the scenes to use the government to make money, and total sellouts, complete criminals, etc. You get the idea. Sports ball. So sports ball is like an insulting term that we use in the dissident right towards sports. And why do we do that? Well, because sports, in a sense, is a type of bred in circuses, something that redirects nationalist energy down a dead end. Okay, and there's a lot more I could say about it, but you get the basic idea. So, and this is actually a black character. Um, Legacy media, we know about how the media is all owned by a certain tribe of people and how through their control of the media they control the narrative. So it's interesting how her face is a TV screen. It's kind of, I think this is a sort of a neat design. I like this piece here. It's kind of nice. Cuckoo. I guess I'll let that one go. The Pride. I think this is sort of a play on the Proud Boys. You can kind of feel that the Pride. These characters turn into these like the ram, the lion, and the dragon. These actually have symbols in and of themselves. These are web girls. Now, what is a web girl? Well, those are the girls that take off their clothes and on the internet, and people pay money to watch it. Da da da. So here, though, they're kind of like spider women, and you can see that they have 6 arms and very sexy. They have this. That's the symbol of the Black Widow. So they're very poisonous. Pretty cool characters. A little difficult to draw though. And here you have party girls, and party girls, their fingers are syringes, and so they can, you know, drug men and blah blah blah. So these are definitely some bad guys here, bad girls, if you will. Maybe a critique on the whole party rave culture, I guess, perhaps. Grug'em. Now we all know Grug. I haven't seen any Grug memes in quite a while. But Grug was pretty popular there for a while. So here's Grug'em. He broke off a what do you call it? Telephone pole to use as a weapon. So that shows the scale of this character. He's a giant. Um, Clown World. I think we all know Clown World. If you don't, you're new to this culture. Then um, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the show. Um, and I will be getting back to the Christmas stuff in a minute, but I guess this is the long answer here, right? The black block. Essentially, some people would know what that is. I love this character. I'm really proud of this design. He's sort of like Swamp Thing, Man Thing, like one of these type of characters. So it alludes back to the swamp, drain the swamp, that whole thing. This is another character here, triple threat. There's a lot of symbolism in these things. Here we have, this is essentially a meme of the White Knight. So you don't really see it that much anymore, but the White Knight is the concept of, let's say you're online and some feminist says some crazy misogynist things about men, and men are all this and that, and then a right winger comes on and says blah 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 feminism, and they push back, and then like a simp white knight shows up and he tries to defend the feminist who's demoralizing men, and thinking like, oh, maybe you'll love me because I'm defending you. So that's the concept of the white knight. And the joke here is he's wearing his underwear on the outside, which is a kind of a joke about superheroes. Like you look at Batman, Superman, and there was it's just a comic book culture thing, wearing your underwear on the outside. At Tidy Whitey's White Knight, you get the idea. This is I'll just kind of move on and maybe get back to the stream. There's more. but I'm kind of feeling like I am verging or veering way off track here. Um, so here, I hope you guys can see this somewhat well. Maybe that's too bright, but it's a kind of a indigenous Santa Claus, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think what will I have for the background here. Explain it to me like I'm five, right? Explain it to me like I got the vaccine for a donut, right? So he's got the wreath on his head. He's got a little bit of a pipe going on there. Here there's a kind of I don't know. There must be a name for this form of swastika. It's a circular swastika, and a sword. There's a big white bag with presents falling out, and he'll kind of be in this. Pardon me, in the snow. Maybe I'll get some darker lines on this character, so perhaps it's a little easier to see. Um, there you go. Um, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the show. This is really just kind of a fun banter show. Um, it's a lot easier when Paul's here to bounce ideas off. But if you guys want to chat with me now or send me any questions, then we can interact. That's what's cool about the internet. We can interact. So maybe I'll do his face so we can get a clearer idea of what this gentleman looks like. Tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, there will be a Christmas Yule celebration on this channel with Mark Collette, Jody Kay. Um, I'm expecting to have Tim Murdoch from White Rabbit Radio. Uh, Mark Brahman will be joining us. Who else? I might have. Well, I don't want to say if they don't show up. I don't want to get people excited and then they're not able to make it. But of course, there'll be members from the White Art Collective. I'm excited to have Jody Kay on the show. Such a lovely, lovely, sweet lady. Catch up on what she's doing. It's always good. We have Yiz, the unifier, will be on the show. She is a really, what's the word I'm looking for? She's really pumping out great content. She is a member of the No White Guilt sphere and doing some really great white positive content. I was just on her game show last night. I call it a game show. I think that's okay to say. It's called Discordant Dragons, and um, it's a really neat. It's kind of like, oh, how would I call it? Something like an RPG sort of game. I wish I could zoom in with this camera. I'm sorry I can't, but I think you guys can maybe you can enlarge your screen. Um, hold on. I don't have super chats. No, I should, right? I could be monetizing the heck out of this channel, and I'm not. And why am I not? Well, it's a thing that I've been meaning to get around to. Um, I think what I would really prefer is that if people bought my book, because then you can have some of my artwork and my poetry, and you can kind of have a piece of Donald Kenneth, and I of course think, super chats are great, and I really am being an idiot for not setting that up. So I have to, maybe that'll be my New Year's revolution. My New Year's revolution. You know what's on my mind? My New Year's resolution. So is to get that going. Um, but I mean, you can just ask me questions for free now. So like, if you want to chat, let me know. Nick uses them. Which Nick are we talking about? Use them, so he must work for you. Yeah, I'm not. If you're talking about Nick Fuentes, I'm obviously nowhere near as big as he is in terms of audience. The other thing is, I'm not. I don't know. should I turn this into a business? It, I can't say that it's I mean, there's no LLC here. It's just my channel, my book, my art. I take commissions. Right now, I have an enormous freelance gig, so I'm not going to be free for quite a while. Um, what's it called? I was just on the Justice Report Christmas show. If you guys are you guys familiar with the Justice Report? So they are associated with NJP, and one of the guys that runs it, Jack McCracken. Actually, Jack McCracken's going to be on the show too. He and I are talking about me doing a web comic for the Justice Report for their website. So I'm super stoked for that. And it's a paid gig. It would be just a weekly web comic, and I've been asking people like, what would you want to see? So now's a great time for for you guys to help me out. So imagine now the Justice Report. What is it? It's a website where they post stories that the mainstream media will not post, and they're almost entirely stories about violence against whites. I mean, the amount of violence against whites in America is literally at like a wartime level, and nobody knows it because it's not on Fox News and CNN, because you're not supposed to, oh, people might get racist. And they might start noticing patterns, and they might blah 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 blah. They might organize on racial lines. Oh boy, call the FBI. Um, so anyway, they that's essentially most of what they publish. Ah, but I'm thinking since it's a very, very mm, I don't know, good site, and a good in the sense of like what the work they're doing is extremely important, and they reach quite a lot of people, and a lot of people are, very grateful for the work they do. All of that. Um, with that being the case, there's a lot of traffic there from our guys, right? And we try to share out the links, of here's a story of a black guy who drove his truck through a Christmas parade, or a white child who was shot in the head by a black guy in and blah blah blah, and this and that and this and that and this and that. And this shit's happening every fucking day. Pardon my language. This Merry Christmas. This stuff is happening all the time across the country, and of course all over Europe. And nope, can't talk about it. Da, 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 da. So I've made my point there. And now, what kind of web comic would you guys want to see? So the question is, what sort of genre do you like? Do you like dystopian, futuristic, Blade Runner, Dune kind of stuff? Do you like something more like Lord of the Rings? Do you want something like a kind of like a nationalist Batman vigilante superhero? What would be a good what would be a good genre? And if you guys could toss out some recommendations, that would help me, because I feel like I need to do a poll on this topic, and just try to get a sense of, well, what would people want to read. um So I brought this up. I don't know, where did I bring this up? I was on the um, the Christmas stream that I was on with these guys. And people, one of the things I was hearing is that we're really into the Lord of the Rings fantasy, and so you know the concepts of our people and our struggle would just be couched in the the narrative. It'd be couched in the symbolism of. I mean, even in our movement, we already use Lord of the Rings as a meme. We talk about like the orcs are invading our country, and orcs make, or like diversity makes M- Mordor a better place. You guys know the memes I'm referring to. war is upon you whether you would like it or not, like these things. So I'm sure you guys are savvy enough, kind of the memes that I'm referring to, etc. So I could be doing something along those lines. So like if Peter Jackson were a nationalist or you know what I mean? Because comics are just films on paper, and I always have to repeat that like over and over. People, for some weird reason, they just have like such a hang up about comics, and I'm like, what is the problem, folks? Um, like for example, you wouldn't if I said, "Oh, I'm going to see a movie this weekend," you wouldn't think that I was going to see a rom-com. You'd be like, "All movies are romantic comedies." What? No, they're not. There's all kinds. You've got drama, action, sci-fi, horror. Why do you think that all comics are superheroes? You know, and I love superheroes. There's not, I don't have any shame about that. But everybody kind of thinks that comics have to be superheroes. They certainly don't, and are not. But so when I bring that up, there's a tendency for people to think, well, I'm not really into Marvel, so I'm not. Anyway, I'm excited for that. I hope that comes to fruition. I think it will. But like I said, I have a long road ahead of me with this upcoming 5 issues of I guess, the meme war or meme heroes. I do believe it's going to be very, very popular, though. I think it'll be a popular book, and das ist gut. So, how about you guys in the audience? What are your Christmas plans? Do you have any interesting things going on coming up? Okay. So what I'm trying to do here, maybe what if could I zoom in and show you better? It's hard to see, but this is the character. It's a bit easier to see when it's closer. Let's take a look at the chat in a second here. Um, Look at the constellation Hercules. Why would I do that? What's the I don't understand the context here. Are we talking about superheroes? There is actually in Marvel Comics they do have a Hercules. He's in the Thor universe, if you will. My family, mom and dad live in Louisiana, so I'll have to mail them stuff. Okay. Yeah. That's good. It's going to be a simple Christmas for me this year. Friend of mine and his wife invited my son over, me and my son, of course. So we'll be in the company of some good friends, and that'll help. I have another friend who lost his mother this year, and so I'm going to have him. Well, I've offered for him to come over on Christmas Day. Mm, I think it's, you know, people like us who are still grieving the loss of our mothers and family members. It's holidays are the time when you have to kind of reach out and help out. You know what I'm saying? Um, Hercules. Oh, Hercules. I can't see that. The universe is shaped like a swastika. Is that kind of what you're trying to say? I'm aware of the what is it? There's a star constellation, like the Big Dipper, essentially. That as the seasons turn, that kind of the shape of the Big Dipper turns around the North Star, and if you were to see it in winter, spring, summer, fall, and as it moves, that it creates a swastika symbol. I actually have I don't know, a graphic on my computer of swastikas from around the world. from Africa to India to Native American cultures, so on and so forth. So it's quite fascinating how ubiquitous that symbol is. I really feel that it is a kind of a me personally, I feel it has spiritual power. I think that's part of why it's so demonized. Um, I'm sure, of course, everybody knows about the you know World War II connotations, but and I should research like why did Uncle A choose that symbol? I don't actually know what made him say this is going to be our national symbol. I can presume, but it'd be interesting to actually know, what was his thinking on that. Another interesting related topic on that is how the National Socialists sent people to Tibet to meet with Tibetan monks to learn about esoteric practices. That's people who are interested in World War II lore, Vril society, all of these things. They find that interesting. But as we know, the Buddhists use the swastika. It's everywhere in Asia. You know, um, what do we got? Read his book, Mein Kampf or Minecraft. He believes it is a symbol of Germany. I would, I wouldn't argue that. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's clear, through art history, that's obvious, right? Um, Interesting stuff. I haven't. I kind of lost track with reading my book on Vril. I got to get back to that. There's really, really great books that I got recently on that topic. Um, I'll just pull it out. Give me a second here. This. Well, this isn't the book, but this is the author here, Maximilien de Lafayette. Very wild character, very, very wild, interesting character. This particular connection here is about the UFOs that that the Nazis had, and why did they have it? How did they get it? What's the connection between all these things? He was actually on one of those like UFO hunter shows that we have in America. Which hey, look who's back, man!
Hey, sorry about that.
You're so popular.
No,
Hell
it
yeah!
was it's all linked. There were some problems I had with my old landlord, which is another one of the things that went tits up
Oh
more
man,
recently.
you had a rough
And
you had a rough
yeah, to
ride
the
there
point
then.
where at the end he was like almost making a death threat type thing. I know it. To
Oh, that's funny.
paraphrase, his words were, "I know where you live and know how
What
to
the?
deal with scumbag like you for good."
Are
This
you
was,
serious? Oh my god.
yeah, I took that as like what, and I just wanted
Whoa.
to
Whoa.
kind of escalate it to, and it was my mum's address that he had on file as the
Yeah.
forwarding address I provided to the letting agency,
Okay.
and I knew, and obviously I know him in Romania, but so. Yeah, so I escalated that to the just to the police, just so that there's something on
The
file. He's
you
threatening to
okay,
take us to claims court and stuff like this.
yeah, you made a
So
report. Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to make a report, and they've only just got back to me basically. So
Wow, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That
yeah,
stinks.
it's one of them. So
So tell us about what you're doing here with the artwork and what's your concept with the Christmas theme.
yeah, I started out just trying to draw something. I was going to do a landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, some mystic landscape with a large kind of church, or
Hmm.
I don't know, some city or in the background there with a nice moon in the sky,
Yeah.
and then someone on horseback, or it could be maybe three wise
Oh, that's
kings.
beautiful. I like
Who
that a
knows?
lot. That looks real nice.
If you can picture that. That was supposed to be St. Nicholas with children around him.
Oh, wonderful.
Um, um, yeah, my provisional drawings are always very sketchy and really
Yeah.
badly drawn until I actually
Right.
start trying to draw. It's weird.
No,
This is an
that's
old
a
idea I
normal.
had actually
Yeah.
for a Christmas card. I
Oh,
just thought I liked the idea of like a choir full of cats,
yeah.
really singing the song, and then this sort of composer mouse at the beginning, at the just composing the cats as they go along. I just
Wow.
thought that'd be quite a funny image.
That is a funny image. I like it. Mm.
Silhouetted, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
A bit of
I mean,
maybe a bit of dim light.
would they be wearing Christmas garb of some kind or something like,
Yeah, it'll be more like traditional choir attire, like a
hmm.
robe type
Okay.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um, Reading from the hymn book.
Yeah. Christmas carols remind me a lot of my youth. My
Yeah.
family was very, very, we're devout Catholic and
Uh-huh.
really involved in the church a lot. So, of course, I sang in the choir and, of course, sang in the choir at school. And I think that's the music of Christmas is so magical. And,
Yeah.
it just, especially the religious hymns, etc. They have a certain quality about them where you feel almost something spiritual that comes from the experience of it. It's really wonderful.
Hmm.
And that
So
was one of
you.
the topics we were talking about on Yiz's show last night about the power of ritual in
Hmm.
on Christmas and how that relates through the cultural and religious experience. So it was a really interesting topic. Yeah.
Yeah, ritual is important. I find
Mm.
ritual and habits and a routine.
Mm-hmm.
It can be monotonous at times, which can be a problem. But generally speaking, I think we need a habit and structure and ritual in our life. It's we define
Right.
ourselves a lot by habits, don't we? Good habits, bad habits. Or,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, I guess the whole thing, you could probably speak to this pretty well, but the way that religion creates these structures, these rituals, traditions, and how, of course, it's meant for the health and well-being of like the spiritual health and well-being of the community.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, that was something we got into last night on the show. It was quite good. And it really, that's actually the reason for the season, right? I mean, we talk about Christmas and Santa Claus and fun times and stuff, but of course we have to recognize the religious and spiritual nature of it.
yeah, sure.
So are you going to do that one then? Is that's your piece for the show? You want to do the card, Christmas card?
Yes, I mean it's not very nationalistic, but it's playful. I would probably, if I'm doing a traditional art piece that I would with imagery, I would probably do this one.
Okay.
I would photo bash together like a nice scene in the
Mm-hmm.
background, and then you know, I mean, how long have we got left?
Oh, I mean, we're just going, I don't really I think we started. Oh gosh, when did we start the show? Maybe 11:15, 11:30. It's 12:30 now. But
Yeah.
yeah. How much time do you have?
Well, I was thinking about another 30, 40 minutes maybe.
Okay.
Because we don't really have a definitive time for
No,
this
it's,
show at the minute, do
it's a very,
we?
yeah, it's a very casual show actually.
Yeah, maybe next year. Sounds so far away, doesn't it? But
Oh God,
we
yeah,
get
it's just like
we'll get some
days
like
away.
full on
Mm.
structure, and unless you like to keep it like this, but it's nice to know
Well,
you cut off.
what do you have in mind in terms of structure?
No, just say we're going to start this time, finish at this time.
Oh, I
I
see, I
know
see.
it. I mean, I know that obviously with me traveling last time and last couple of weeks, and there was the
Mhm.
issue with your stream that we didn't really
Right, right.
get to hone anything down. But from the new year, maybe we can start to get uh, something set in stone, so maybe people can start to think, oh yeah, this streams at that time, and then we can
Hmm.
promote it for a certain time, things like that. Because I think that's another a reason why it's important as well, not just for the hangout, which is cool, but just
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
people know as a
Yeah.
formality, oh, this time it's going to be
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
for this length of time as well, and even for ourselves, just to maybe
Yeah,
find it
I'm
easier that way.
totally all for it. I'm all for it. So like, yeah, let's definitely. I mean, so it seems to me, I guess the question for me is like, what's easiest for you? Simply because where you're living and when you're moving and all of that. So like that's the stuff we've been kind of dealing with, and I want to make sure that it's convenient for you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
yeah.
So when do you think you'll be settled?
Well, I'm settled now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So
All
whenever
right.
really, we I think this time is fine for me.
Okay.
Uh, from when did we start? So
So
similar
what it
time
would
would be cool.
right, what it would be something like for me it would be 11 a.m. and that's
Yeah,
totally fine for me. I can totally do that.
cool.
So why don't we say that, 11 a.m. Tuesdays will be the regular show time. Again, I'm only talking about in the East Coast in America. Um, and so I don't know what time is it for you then. I think you're 5 hours
Uh,
ahead.
I think so. I'm plus two from GMT or UCT.
I don't know what those refer to from.
Uh, well,
But you're
GMT stands.
yeah.
It was Greenwich Mean Time. And I
Okay.
think they changed that actually to UCT, which is Universal something time. Universal.
Okay.
Let's see. UCT stands for Upper Critical Temperature. It's totally different. um,
Well,
UTC. Yeah,
suffice to say is
Coordinated Universal Time.
all right. All right.
Universal Time Coordinated.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it used to be GMT, which meant Greenwich Mean Time.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which I have
Right.
no idea what Greenwich came from.
Yeah, I mean, I know Greenwich Village in New York City. I've been there many times, but other than that,
Which mean time. Why Greenwich? What does Greenwich mean?
I think it's a location.
Right. Has something to do with a railway. GMT was ultimately adopted across Great Britain by the Railway Clearing House in December 1847.
Huh.
Officially became railway time by the mid 1850s. Almost all public
Mm,
clocks in Britain were set to Greenwich Mean Time, and it finally became
mm,
Britain's legal standard in 1880. And I assume that kind of stuck as a universal standard because obviously Great
Yeah,
Britain being the badasses and
yeah,
worldwide
being
influence.
I know. Well, English, I believe, is still the most widely spoken language, I think.
Mm.
If it's not Mandarin, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I think so. At least
that's
in
such a
Europe.
testament to our people too, that English is the language of the world. People from
Yeah,
different countries, if they meet up, that it's someone who speaks Arabic and someone who speaks Spanish, they're going to have to use English to
yeah.
communicate with each other, that kind of thing.
I mean, the French was highly spoken at one point as well, but English, I think Old English was very Germanic. It was a
Oh,
mix of, yeah, Old
okay.
English was very Germanic and sounds quite German.
No kidding.
And
Well,
I
that
think with,
shouldn't surprise
yeah, I think there was some influence from Gaelic and the sort of the more Celtic based languages.
me. Hmm.
And then the
Okay.
French and Latin, the Latin sort of French derivative influenced English afterwards. So, you have modern day English, which is an amalgamation of essentially Germanic tongues, Celtic tongues, and
Hmm.
well, you have your native Britain tongues as well, which were Celtic in origin, I think,
Okay.
or maybe not. I'm not sure. But there would be an amalgamation mixture of a lot of them anyway. So, yeah, we
Hmm.
have. Um, I mean, when you look at other languages in Europe, there's feminine words for so many
Right.
different things. Like
Yeah.
they've got feminine objects, and
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
labels kind of there's no real logic to them, which is
Yeah.
annoying because in Romanian, for example, food is feminine. In Germany, food's masculine. So it's like there's no standard at all. It's just
Uh,
as in how they chose to label things.
that is a little odd, actually, now that I think about
Yeah.
it. Like I,
So
I in America, Spanish is very common, and so of course we know about you know, you know, the use of the letter A and the use of the letter O to distinguish between the masculine, feminine. But
uh,
yeah, interesting.
yeah, so I think that would be a bit of a roadblock uh, for the alphabet people trying to you know
Oh, right. Like, yeah, how
trying
I
to
mean,
police language.
that's a good point, dude. That's a very funny point.
Yeah. How are they gonna get around
Gosh,
that? And then
yeah,
you
how
have
you gonna do that?
non-binary food.
Right. The universe is binary. I mean, it's funny because in Hermeticism and the mystery schools, one of the laws and principles of nature is the law of gender, that everything has a
Right.
masculine and feminine. Now, I think, like say from a Taoist perspective, they would reframe that as like yin and yang, that everything has
Okay.
opposites. But I mean, it's really not that much different if you think of it in terms of like, feminine principles have their own kind of mm, cosmic nature, if you will, and that all things feminine in nature have these same kind of behaviors or characteristics, I guess. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And of course, the notion is to balance them in your life, to keep a balance between these things.
Yes, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So I'm pretty anxious about my Christmas show tonight. Um, my only concern is that StreamYard is not gonna like, you know, freak out on me and crash because I have so many guests. Like yeah, I
Are they all coming in at the same time or?
well, Mark Colette's gonna only be able to stay for a short while just due to the fact that it's like late in the UK.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I guess Jody Kay will stay as long as she likes. My thinking is just having like a rotating door,
yeah,
that I'll have a couple people on and then a couple people in the waiting room, and then just take a little while to chit chat with each of them. How you doing? What's new? What did you accomplish this year? What's your goals for next year? Merry Christmas, and then knock them out and bring the new guy in or whatever, and just let it rotate. Let it just be a fun time to. I'll really be honest with you. What this essentially is trying to carry on the culture of the White Art Collective. Jeff used to do this, and it's I think almost a ceremonial thing that we need as a community.
mm,
There's a one of our friends in the community is gonna be. He's not actually singing live, but he's a recording of himself singing Christmas songs in German, which I think is
okay,
going to be really cool. Um, so you get the idea. I mean, it's the I'm sort of reframing the White Art Collective as the White Art community and kind of getting
yeah,
people used to that idea. Um, yeah, and then let everybody kind of make their announcements and so that everybody can kind of be on board with whatever's happening and what they should pay attention to, what shows they might want to plug into and all of that stuff. Uh,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like, because I've been doing shows since 2017. Like it's not my first rodeo,
Yeah,
it's just the technical things that happen that like, that shoot you in the foot. And they're like, oh shit. Um, Otherwise though, it's a lot of fun, you know.
yeah,
And I think, I really want the mood and the spirit to be positive. I know that we have some sadness in our community, of course, with Jeff's passing and all of that stuff. So that's kind of part of why we have to carry on. You know what I mean? We kind of can't let that bring us down. And then on top of that, I mean, there's a lot of crazy things going on. But one might say, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I almost kind of feel like the revolution has started, to some extent. I think that there's a lot of rebellion in Ireland right now that I think is kind of, I hope is the flashpoint to begin the end of everything. We know that 2024 is the election year. I think a lot of people are saying it's going to be the last election, in terms of, I mean, democracy is already dead in America, but as far as like the illusion of democracy, um, and then being, what's next? Like, how is this all gonna unfold? So we'll see how it goes. But and I might be too
yeah.
optimistic. I don't know if I'm too optimistic on this. But,
I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, as a
mm,
revolution started, um,
mhm,
I think, yeah. I mean, I think that the beginning, sort of I would say the tides are starting to turn, mm,
yeah.
so to speak. There's definitely a change in people's opinion and awareness.
Hmm.
Um, but I think we're more in a. I wouldn't say it's a revolution. I would say it's more. Well, yeah, it probably is a revolution in the sense that it's a step closer towards change. But that
Hmm.
change is quite ambiguous at the moment. It's like
Hmm.
it's a balancing act, isn't it? And the
Hmm.
scales are getting more turbulent, and
Hmm.
it's like which
Hmm.
way is it going to go? Because
Yeah.
the scales have been tipping for so long. It's like they've been going
Hmm.
way left to the left, and it's like the right has kind of been um, kind of not even present, not been showing up to the plate. And now I think people are. being pushed off center and forced to choose sides. So by default, they are
Yeah, yeah,
essentially right wing. And generally
right.
speaking, people are actually worried for their futures for the children in their own homelands, and
Yeah,
they're aware of the immediate threats that are around them with a lot of
yeah,
failed multicultural situations
yeah,
and
yeah,
and all of the divisions. I mean, there's not. I mean, you get sort of you get moments where there's cohesion, and it's
yeah.
usually in like a workforce environment where people have to
Mm,
get along when they're all under a certain roof, um,
hmm.
and but when you've got you're still going to have them pocket cultures that eventually want the society to fall in line with their values, and
Right, right, right.
um, the way changes are heading is
Yeah.
what people are fearful of, especially the natives. And yeah, I think it's
Mm,
their awareness of it and their fear of it, which is shifting
mm,
towards a change in their attitude. So
hmm.
yeah, that tipping point, it's where is that going to go? Is it going to fall in favor for the people in charge, or is it an
Yeah.
opportunity for real change? And that's where I'm kind of. I mean, I know where I want it to go, but to some
Right,
extent, I think it feels like the whole situation is orchestrated anyway, to
right, right.
play
Well, they're
into
trying to.
to the hands. Yeah, I mean, like for example, the Dublin riots. They were angry, and certain, to some extent, kind of uh, their anger is justified in channeling it in some way. Um, I'm not sure if destroying your own nation, your own place is the best way to go about it, but it certainly got attention. And are they going to use that now to just bring in stricter control measures, stricter, uh, you know, kind of controls with monitoring policies and free speech and more police on the streets with heavy weaponry, things like that. It's like these reactions are all geared towards giving them the justification that they're after. So is it ultimately there's a tipping point, isn't there? And it's in that tipping point where there's you know
Yeah,
we
I think it's kind of like the stock market in the sense that it's changing moment by moment. And
yeah
that, no one person can know everything all at once. I mean, maybe the elites have ways to measure all of that, and I'm sure there's some sense of control. Because obviously we see in the news that, like, for example, when they start focusing all of their lasers on white supremacy and white this and white that, they're nervous, they're scared,
yeah
they know that the public is waking up and in a sense, coming together against their governments that are, of course, controlled by elites, globalist elites. The governments are just puppets, so, but
yeah
anyway, and so they've got to psychologically bash them, like, be ashamed of being white, and being white is a dangerous thing, and organizing on the basis of being white is like, we have to make laws against it, and we're going to weaponize our government apparatus against it, da, da, da. So it's just a way of, like, killing us off, but terrorizing us first into submission
uh-huh
so that we will not fight. That's what it's all about. That's how the game is played. And so again, the more we see these things, the more angry we get, and the more we fight, then I mean it's untenable. Like, how do you continue to hurt us in this way? Bringing all of these, essentially an army of foreigners into our communities, into our countries, and then expect us not to notice it, and not to fight against it. it's bizarre. Like, why would you think that we would just allow this to happen? Well, I mean, that's why people are put in prison for fighting against it.
mm,
I know that's horrible, and it's a serious problem. Um, and obviously, it's far worse in Europe than in America. But they're pushing hard for that in the United States, and so it's a cause for concern. Um,
yeah, yeah,
but in the end, the kind of normies are going to have to just face the truth that they cannot and ignore that whites are a demographic group that have no legal representation and that are targeted for extinction. And I mean, I don't know how you can deny such a thing when Biden himself says it and is on record saying it with the head of the FBI next to him, smiling away, and all of that stuff. That's real. It's very
mm,
real. And what they depend on is that people hate themselves, that they agree with it, that they want this to happen. And you see a lot of liberals saying, "Oh yeah, white men, old white men, pale, stale, and male," blah, blah, blah. And the shit that they talk is just so ridiculous and suicidal. Um, it's horrible, but I don't know. I just don't think that it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna last. I don't see that it can last. Um, but it ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows. All of us have a different knowledge base, I guess. Like, it's kind of like the old analogy of of the blind man and the elephant. You know that analogy? So like
um,
it's
yeah,
from like India, or I think something where they had a king or something. It's like a fable where he's like going to put like five or six blind men around an elephant, and each one touched a different part of the elephant, and he would ask them, "What is an elephant?" And then the one touching the tail would say, "Oh, well, an elephant is like a broom. It's long and it has a hairy tip on the end." And then the other one, oh, is touching the ear, and oh, well, an elephant is kind of like a giant leaf. And
mm,
so like we all can only have so much knowledge about what's going on.
true.
The more knowledge you have, obviously, the more powerful you are. Hence, controlling the internet, stopping free speech. You see what I'm saying? Like all of these
Yeah,
pieces fit perfectly together. It's just a very, very clear-cut puzzle. But the key component, of course, is the courage to do this when people are trying to stop you from doing it. And I mean, friends that sincerely care about me or people in the movement will say, be careful, be careful, be careful what you're doing. And that's beautiful. That's what friends should be doing, is looking out for each other. But at the same time, if you do nothing, what are you? You're a traitor to your nation. You're a traitor to your people. And because this is the time, there is no other time. There's nobody coming to save us. If you do
yeah, yeah,
nothing, then you get nothing. In fact, you lose everything. And nobody wants to really face that and say, like I was speaking to a close friend of mine from college recently who I adore, and I'm not at all like knocking him by saying this. The dude's very, very smart, and he's just very, very smart and resourceful, and he's figured out a lot already. But in his mind, he blames the bankers. It's the bankers' fault. And
mm,
he got stuck in the it's what is it, controlled opposition, or not controlled, gatekeeping. So where he was gatekeeped, so to speak, into the notion that, oh, it's those damn rich people, that want all the
mm.
money. And I'm like, that's like a sliver of the pie, buddy. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm trying to, like show him, no, it's the Zionists, and this is how and why and blah blah blah. So he's able to accept that. He's able to see that and like not deny it. But at the same time, in the end, it's like, well, I'm just gonna do what makes me happy and live life according to my whims and do what's fun. And that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that per se. But unfortunately, if you live like that right now in history, then there will be no Western civilization for people to come. You see what
True.
I'm saying? And part of that is like the atomization of our people, that we're slowly kind of mm, born into a world where everything's about me, and do your lifestyle and look at pictures of me on Instagram traveling the world in my fancy clothes and eating nice food and blah blah blah. You guys all know what I mean by that. That's
Mm.
like you can do that, but like meanwhile your country is dying, and don't expect to give anything to the children of our countries and etc. So I choose to fight. I choose to fight, and I'm nobody. I'm an artist. Like, what am I? What can I do? I don't have. I don't have like you know the resources to do anything beyond my art. But just doing art is an act of rebellion in this world today. Our enemies know very well the power of culture, the power of arts and entertainment. Why do you think they control Hollywood and Netflix and Disney? I mean, Disney is dying. Elon Musk just mocked it out badly in like I don't know what you call these things where there's like a bunch of people that come to see him. Not a convention, but some big public speech thingy,
Yeah.
where question answer Q&A, blah blah blah, and he was laughing at Disney, and he says, they are totally infected by the woke mind virus. Now, I'm not saying I trust Elon Musk altogether. I know the things that he's doing that's good. I recognize that. But this is the guy that invented Neuralink, and I just pray that you know that it all works out okay in the end, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for him to say that and to literally be laughing at them, and then also consider he just got back from Israel. That's kind of like having being sent to the principal's office. All this free speech and anti-Semitism's on the rise. You're going to have to go speak to Netanyahu. You're going to get your hands slapped.
Yeah.
Be a good
It's
boy now.
definitely.
Yeah, you fall in line now, and otherwise you might regret it. And then right after that, he has one of these public speeches, and he's like, "If you're gonna try to blackmail me with money, then go fuck yourself," is what he says, and it's a big meme right now. Like everybody knows about this
No,
guy.
I know it's
Phenomenal.
it's a
Yeah,
tricky one to figure out because
he is. Yeah, he is actually.
what what is this game? I don't. It's hard to know. I
Right.
mean,
I agree.
the guys. On the one hand, he does certain things which you think, okay, he might be advocating for the things that are worthy.
Yeah.
Um, on the other hand, I think, well, he's he's still definitely a kind of a humanist.
Hmm.
He clearly wants to build up Twitter and then
Yeah.
merge it with his Neuralink,
Yeah.
and that's essentially transhumanism. So we know his agenda.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's a
I, I,
rocket.
I think ultimately uh, I think that there's probably some overlapping things which we think might be kind of conducive towards our cause, but are in fact just something that he needs to see to further his cause, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I'm just pontificating here, but there's the thought that if you're that big and that powerful, you have to play along. You have to play the game. I think Trump had to do that as well.
Yeah.
Um, I want to show your screen here more. Um, and so he might, so that there's that question, like, is he still a puppet and a tool because, like, if you look at Vivek Ramaswamy, who's running for president right now, he's getting a lot of favor in the Republican Party because he's saying the truth and using our talking points to
Yeah.
make us believe that we can trust him. But he's been groomed by George Soros, the World Economic Forum.
Oh,
He's
is he
planned.
really? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. His law degree was
Yeah.
paid for directly by George Soros. He was trained. I forget the name of the thing. It's essentially the New World or the Open Society or something.
Okay.
People in the chat might know what I'm talking about. Let's say hi to a few people here. We got our buddy Bear is in the chat. Great to see you, Bear. Jared York, we got a new friend here. Great to have you, Jared. Um, what else is going on? Easy. Da, da, da. What are your thoughts? Hey, Imminent Rain is here. This is a very, very close friend of mine. Um, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk? I think this is a really good question. You know,
What, meeting him?
about meeting him, did you say?
What? What was the question?
Oh, like, what do you think about Elon Musk? Is he our guy or is he not?
Well, I think we just touched on that, didn't we? I,
Well, I'm putting that out for the audience
yeah, yeah.
to kind of muse on, I suppose. You know. All right, I am going to put some color in here. Maybe get a little bit of a background going on. Um, gonna have a lot of snow in this picture shortly here. Um, let's see what else is shaking. So, what do you think, guys? Is Elon our guy or not our guy? Tough to say. Tough to say.
Yeah, I would say no.
For now, I guess I'll enjoy the show, and hopefully things work out, in our favor.
Yeah, no, I can't see that he is. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
go ahead.
the way I see it is facilitating he's facilitating the other side, and there needs to be
Mhm.
two sides in order to create chaos in the society
Mm,
and play
there you
two
go.
sides against each other. So
Right.
his platform is um, he's been given a certain amount of freedom to allow right wing to talk certain points. I think it's mentioned before the people that are capable of actual real change within
Yeah.
nationalism, for example, aren't
Yeah.
allowed on YouTube. Mark Collett, for example,
Oh
doing
yeah.
real world
Or
things.
or
He's not
or
allowed.
Twitter. Or Twitter for
Yeah,
that matter.
on Twitter. Sorry, did I say YouTube? Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
But Twitter, yeah, he's not allowed on there. And you see a point with all the people that really have legitimate um, potential to make real world change or are actually making real world change now with
Yeah.
grassroots aren't
Right.
allowed on there. So
Right.
I can only assume that they have kind of selective amounts
Right.
of
Like
people.
Jared. Right. Jared Taylor is not on there. I mean, there's a bunch of people. There should be like a list of the people that we demand to be put back on Twitter. Um, certainly Mark Collette. I'm surprised that some people are though. Like I believe Joel Davis is still on there. He's really hardcore.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe his
but
reputation hasn't sort of preceded him yet. Who knows?
yeah, well, that's where that's you pretty much nailed it right there. The bigger your influence is, the more they go after you. So I've even had some problems with YouTube very recently where, like, for example, I can't post links in my show notes anymore, like anymore. Like I'm forever banned
Wow,
from
really?
posting
Why?
because of wrong think. You know
Wow.
what I mean? Of like saying things that you're not supposed to say. So you get the idea, you know how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, so I am going to try to put some white paint on here. I hope I don't ruin this piece. Might be too early to do that. I might need to do that at the end. Maybe I should do that at the end. All right. But when you're doing art, the layers and such, it's a very tricky process. Um, I guess I'll jump back over me, so you have something to look at. All right, so Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time is when we will do this show, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is in the where you are, but let's just try to make we're locking that in, and
Yep.
yeah, it should be good.
So it's the same time today then, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
we'll
right?
just make that our usual,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that way people can know when to tune in. Now, for me in America, people on the West Coast, that would be more just easier for them because I don't know, they're probably at the end of their day. Um, because on a Tuesday, obviously most people are at work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there you are. But yeah, who else? The I forget the guy's name, but he is the president of Argentina now. It's the
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
yeah there's a meme that I have with Albert Pike from the he's a 33rd degree Freemason, and the
I know
meme
what
is
it's like.
him. Yeah, he's he's basically saying wherever the public needs a hero, we will install one. And that
Yeah,
goes
wow.
yeah, I mean, that's a quote from him where they're essentially behind everything, that
Yeah,
there's so many
of
words we use, the
course.
globalists, the elite, the this, the that, the Zionists, the Freemasons, da, da, da. It's all the same people with many different names. Anyway, it's tough, I because we know the patterns, and I guess
Mm-hmm.
my view is essentially that anybody who has kind of like mainstream, anybody who can get on CNN or Fox or whatever, how did they get there? Like, how were they allowed to get there? Can you imagine Jared Taylor or Mark Collette on Fox News? Would that be allowed, and who would control
No
that?
chance.
Y- Yeah, so yeah, I can't see that they would be allowed to do that because we're not allowed to be part of the choices out there. We are the third position. We are
Mm.
the alternative to the left right dichotomy, if you will. Anyway, I'm really pleased with my piece. I'm really happy with this coming along. Um,
Yeah,
Imminent Rain
that's a
says that
cool one.
Musk is controlled op, and I
Mm.
would agree with you. So, by the way, it's 1 o'clock. It's a little after one here. How you doing, Paul?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I'm not going to get a finished piece today. Seems to be consistent with me. But I got some ideas down. Um,
All right,
so yeah, uh, I may go ahead and make up one of these two, and we can show it on next week's
all right,
stream. I think,
all right. Sounds
um,
nice.
and then I'll have we'll have a full on theme. I'll have images planned and everything, and I'll be able to execute really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So any ideas on next week's theme?
Well, golly gee, that's a good question. Guys in the chat, what type of a theme would you like us to do next week? It's obviously Patriotic Art Live, so it's
I
a
mean, it's
nationalist
still
theme.
Christmassy. We
Yeah, yeah, we're still in the. I
could have
mean,
a winter theme.
we could perhaps do like finish this off next week, and then, because we're still in that like New Year's zone, if you will. Um, I
Yeah,
don't know that if
yeah, maybe
unless
that would work.
okay, right,
Uh,
unless we come up with some other idea, I think
yeah,
that's probably
okay.
the way to go. Okay.
Now I'll
All
plan
right.
out these images and maybe I'll squeeze
Hmm.
two in. Who knows?
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me thank everyone in the chat for coming. Any comments you guys want to make before we wrap it up? Any thoughts? All right, well, God bless you all. Remember tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, I am doing my Christmas show, and I hope you can join us. We've got Mark Collette, Jody Kay, Josh Neal, Mark Brahman. We should have Tim Murdoch from White Rabbit Radio. We might have some other special guests that you guys should know. Of course, we'll have members from the White Art Collective. I'm expecting Nullis and Jay Ladark from the monthly White Art Challenge, and probably some others as well. Jack White from Northern Ireland is probably going to be joining us. So it's going to be quite a show, quite a show. Anyway, God bless you all. I'm wishing you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Yuletide, and we will wrap it up right here. Have a good one.